The Israel-Lebanon border is once again a flashpoint. Tensions simmering for years have erupted into open conflict. The latest escalation began with rocket fire from Lebanon into Israel. Israel responded with airstrikes, targeting what it claims are Hezbollah positions. The situation is volatile, with the potential for rapid deterioration. The recent exchange of fire is the most serious escalation since the 2006 war. Both sides have signaled their readiness to escalate further. Israel has mobilized troops to the border. Hezbollah has vowed to respond forcefully to any Israeli aggression. The international community watches with growing concern. The current crisis underscores the fragility of peace in the region. It also highlights the unresolved issues at the heart of the conflict. These include the disputed Sheba Farms area and Hezbollah's military capabilities. Without a political solution, the cycle of violence seems destined to repeat itself. The recent fighting has been characterized by a rapid escalation and the use of significant firepower. Israel launched airstrikes against multiple targets in Lebanon. These strikes targeted alleged Hezbollah positions, including rocket launchers and weapons depots. The IDF claims its actions are in self-defense, aimed at degrading Hezbollah's military capabilities. Hezbollah, in turn, has responded with rocket fire into Israel. The group claims its attacks are retaliation for Israeli aggression. Hezbollah rockets have struck civilian areas in northern Israel, causing damage and spreading fear. While there have been no reported casualties so far, the potential for civilian casualties remains high. This tit-for-tat exchange of fire is a dangerous game with potentially catastrophic consequences. Each round of attacks increases the risk of miscalculation and further escalation. The lack of direct communication between the two sides amplifies this risk. The absence of a mediator or a framework for dialogue makes de-escalation even more challenging. The current tensions between Israel and Hezbollah are rooted in a long and bloody conflict. The two sides have been locked in a cycle of violence for decades. This cycle is fueled by mutual mistrust, historical grievances, and the absence of a political horizon. Understanding this history is crucial to grasping the current situation's complexity. The First Lebanon War in 1982 marked a turning point. Israel's invasion of Lebanon and the subsequent occupation of its southern region created fertile ground for Hezbollah's emergence. Hezbollah, formed in response to the Israeli occupation, quickly gained strength and support. It positioned itself as a resistance movement fighting for the liberation of Lebanese territory. The Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon in 2000 did not end the conflict. Hezbollah retained its military capabilities and its commitment to resisting Israel. The 2006 war further entrenched Hezbollah's position as a dominant force in Lebanon. It also deepened the cycle of mistrust and hostility between the two sides. Section 4. Humanitarian crisis looms as civilians bear the brunt. As the conflict escalates, it is the civilians on both sides of the border who bear the brunt of the suffering. In Lebanon, Israeli airstrikes have caused damage to infrastructure and displaced communities. The fear of renewed conflict has forced many to flee their homes in search of safety. The humanitarian situation is dire, with limited access to basic necessities. In Israel, rocket fire from Lebanon has disrupted daily life and instilled fear in communities along the northern border. The constant threat of attack has taken a toll on the mental and emotional well-being of residents. The conflict has also impacted the economy, with businesses forced to close and tourism coming to a standstill. The humanitarian consequences of the conflict extend beyond the immediate impact of violence. The destruction of infrastructure, displacement of populations, and disruption of essential services will have long-lasting effects. The psychological trauma inflicted on civilians, particularly children, will take years to heal. Section 5. International community appeals for calm amidst escalation. The international community has reacted with alarm to the escalating violence between Israel and Hezbollah. World leaders and international organizations have issued urgent calls for restraint and de-escalation. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the situation. However, concrete action to halt the fighting remains elusive. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has expressed its support for Israel's right to self-defense. However, it has also urged all parties to avoid actions that could further escalate the situation. European countries have called for a ceasefire and a return to dialogue. They have also stressed the importance of protecting civilians and upholding international humanitarian law. Despite these calls for calm, the situation on the ground remains volatile. The lack of trust between the warring parties, coupled with the complex geopolitical dynamics at play, makes a swift resolution unlikely. The international community's ability to influence the situation is limited. However, it remains crucial to continue diplomatic efforts to prevent a wider conflagration. Section 6. Fears of wider conflict cast a shadow over the region. The escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has raised fears of a wider regional conflagration. The involvement of regional actors with stakes in the conflict, such as Iran and Syria, adds another layer of complexity. The potential for miscalculation or unintended escalation is high, with potentially devastating consequences for the entire region. Iran, a key backer of Hezbollah, has condemned Israel's actions and vowed to support its allies. Syria, already embroiled in a protracted civil war, is geographically close to the conflict zone. Any spillover of violence into Syria could further destabilize the country and exacerbate the ongoing humanitarian crisis. The current situation underscores the interconnectedness of conflicts in the Middle East. It also highlights the urgent need for a comprehensive approach to peace-building. Addressing the root causes of conflict, including historical grievances, political disputes, and socioeconomic disparities, is essential to achieving lasting stability in the region.